Hey, what's up, you guys? So it is Comic Con Africa weekend, and we are out here having a rollicking time. Now, I am especially excited about speaking to my next new best friend. This is a very special lady. Her name is Estelle, and she is another one of the participants in our Project Springbok initiative. Now, the Project Springbok initiative, is basically geared at identifying up and coming talent, aspiring greatness, as it were, in the field of development. So, Estelle, how are you doing?
I am great. And yourself?
I am in good physical health. I'm in good physical health. Mentally
Good.
is always a little bit dodgy, always a little bit dodgy. But we do what we can where we are with what we have. Now, as the universe would have it, the universe has seen fit that at this moment in time, you and I get to bond, we get to connect about a certain project
Mhm.
that you have been working on. So, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you have created, and all of that stuff? So, my fans out there, my friends out there, know exactly how it goes.
Well, my name is Estelle Makoba, and I am an indie game developer. And I basically design games, and I do a lot of collaborations. Yes, and I am based out of Pretoria. Yes.
Whew, okay, so literally just down the road, down the road, as it were, right? Okay, so this project that you're working on, right? So tell us a little bit more about it. How does it work? What's it about?
Okay, so the name of the project is Ambi. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler where you play as a knight. That's basically the concept is that you get to meet NPCs or non-player characters that you can interact with, and they will basically like send you on side quests, and then you can sort of also convince them to help you with some of the mission like combat and battle because there are some levels you can't really make it by yourself.
Hmm.
So yes.
Yeah. Now, what I love about it, now you guys on your screen are currently seeing some gameplay footage, some promo footage, as it were, and as you can see, the design choices Estelle has made over here are very, very unique. Very, very unique. They seem familiar while at the same time are so different. It's a little bit of a roller coaster, just like the entire concept itself. So, Estelle, tell us now, right, in terms of inspiration for your project. How did you come to this? How did you create this? Tell us more about all of that.
Okay, so basically, because we don't have locally in the continent, we don't have any dungeon crawlers that basically can compete. I don't know if I should use the word compete, but that
Mm-hmm.
could stand out globally, right? We do make a whole load of other games, but I feel like in terms of dungeon crawlers, we don't really have a lot. And I wanted to make something that can stand out, but also like be appealing to gamers and people that do play that genre of games.
That's what I really like about it because, as I was saying to the guys out there, it seems familiar enough that, it's something that a hardcore fan could definitely buy into, while at the same time, it has enough subtle nuances that make it a unique experience over here. But again, what flaws me is that it's a very, very immersive experience, and I have to ask, here in Africa, you know this isn't the type of story one would normally tell. What drove you over there? I want to get to you, Estelle.
Mm,
Help me out here.
okay. All right. So I'm generally known for making games that are inspired by either feelings and emotions, or an idea, and I'm me trying to translate that to game mechanics, right? So basically, Ambi is about saying. So basically, what I was trying to say with the game was that we ultimately have it's up to us, right? Ultimately, where we end up and like our actions and will sort of so basically how we interact with the world comes back to us ultimately, right? And
Yeah.
it's also, a lot of people don't know this, but it's also about depression. I think it sort of plays into that theme.
I kind of, I mean, my mind is blown by what you were able to do because you took something that is a shared human experience, I think especially in the world we're living in now, 2020, COVID and all of this stuff over here, it's easy to fall into that spiral of depression. But what you've done is you've created a way of exploring this narrative over here. And I actually found, from the little snippets that I've been exposed to that where, okay, actually this could actually be very, very cathartic in a way because it helps you, it changes, it shifts the way you're thinking, because as you go on the journey with our character over here, you start to get to know yourself a little bit more, if that makes sense. So was on your side, was that by accident or was that by design? Because it's brilliant either way.
I think it was by design because, and the notion is not really sad, right? It's like you said, it's a very cathartic. It was designed to be that way, right? To sort of relate and then go through all these.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm not sure if you've played the Dark Souls games where they're really hard, but going through or basically beating this puzzle or winning against this boss is very releasing when you're done, right? Yeah, I was going for something like that.
Well, you went for it, you nailed it, and I mean, just kudos to you, my sister, kudos to you. But now, let's shift the tone a little bit. Now, let's step away from the creation and talk more about the creator, that being you. So, I mean, out here in Africa, right? Out here in Africa, game development, game design, and everything involved with that isn't really something that is that people would immediately says, okay, that's something that comes out of Africa. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, what sort of challenges, if any, have you experienced and, well, obviously overcome in terms of your developer journey?
Well, for me, I feel like in Africa, the good thing is that the industry is small, right?
Yeah.
So it's accessible because of that, right? So going from not being known to people knowing about you in the industry is easier than it would be in the US. But then the industry as a whole also suffers from not having the same resources that developers in the West would have, right? So, and that's why that's some of the challenges. So currently, it can be very hard to sort of work in games because a lot of developers don't have funds, or so you can't necessarily dedicate your whole time. Most people have a job and then they make games.
I mean, just listening to you speak about it, I sense is that this inner strength that comes across today, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, but we're not going to let it stop us, and I really, really admire that. I'm just the entire concept, what you created, who you are as a person, I just think it's a phenomenal package on the whole. So again, much love, kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm suddenly blushing over here, right? But nonetheless, we shall forge on. I have to ask you, right? So in terms of the future, I want my friends out there to be able to reach out to you, to be able to follow you, support you, and all of that. And where would they go? How would they do that? Give us some help with that right now.
I believe the best way would be to reach out on Twitter.
Okay, and now in terms of the game itself, how will people access it? How do people access it? And, I mean, when will our friends out there have a chance to enter your world, as it were?
Okay, so currently you can play the demo on Edge, but it's not the complete demo. It's a sort of a vertical slice to show some of the mechanics. But I'm hoping that the game should be out by early next year, maybe February.
Okay, so there you guys have it, right? You need to follow this girl over here, this young, this amazing, amazing, amazing creator on Twitter and keep your eyes out. Go play that demo and keep your eyes out for the full release coming out February next year. Once again, this has been another installment in the special feature series brought to you by our friends at Project Springbok in partnership with my friends at Comic Con Africa. And just remember, Comic Con Africa running through from the 24th to the 27th of September. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, and don't forget our After Dark show as well. So at this point, Estelle, before we say goodbye, are there any final thoughts or closing anecdotes for our friends out there?
Well, I would say that the local industry needs a lot of ideas and people. So I would really urge people to look into being part of the gaming industry, and so that we can grow and realize our full potential.
I am loving that. Okay, so the future is bright. It is full of promise. Estelle, once again, thank you so much for your time. And to all my friends out there, once again, like, share, subscribe, follow, do all of that stuff. And we'll chat to you guys soon. Peace.
Welcome back to the Comic Con Africa YouTube channel. Today we are speaking to one of Africa's most innovative minds, Aram from Leti Arts. He is the CEO. Hi there, Aram. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you two?
I'm well, thanks. All up there in Ghana, everything good? Everything looking dandy?
Everything is going on really well. The COVID cases are increasing, but we have it under control.
No, that's good to hear. So, Aram, you are CEO and co-founder of a company called Leti Arts, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so basically Leti Arts is a company that was started with a vision of preserving African culture through video games and comics. And we've been doing this for about 10 years now, me and my co-founder, Wesley from Kenya. But personally, basically, myself, I'm a very, very, very game addict. And I started very young, right from primary school. I used to write stories myself, I think in grade 3. And my dad, who was an art professor, used to illustrate it for me. I forced him to be my illustrator then. And then fast forward to junior high school, I met another guy who was really great at sketch. I was good at stories, so we partnered and started making comics in junior high school. So by then I had a lot of comic books that my dad bought for me, mostly Superman, Batman, X-Men, and all these superhero comics. So I used to see advertisements of their games on Super Nintendo, and the rest. So I wanted to have these advertisements in my comics as well. Like you are reading a comic that I had then was Sword of Sygos, and then you see Sword of Sygos play Sword of Sygos in Super Nintendo. So that's how I started learning how to program. So I started teaching myself programming. And fast forward to university, I transformed this particular Sword of Sygos game into 3D as my final year thesis. That was in 2006. I read computer science in a university here in KNUST in Ghana. So that had become the first game to be made in the university in Ghana, the first 3D game basically in the university. So this game became a bit popular in 2006, but in 2007, my dad gave me a call. It's like, hey, Aram, there's a story in the newspapers and it's not you. So I went to get this newspaper, opened it, and I saw the headline, the first 3D game made in Africa.
No
and
way.
It wasn't me. So
no.
I'm like, oh, who is this dude? I just quickly went to Google or Yahoo search then, and I'm like, hey, I searched and I saw him taking all the credit on a blog. I think I put all these in my book that I published 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I messaged him. I'm like, hey, you should research very well before you conclude you are the only one making games on the continent. And he came back very apologetic and he didn't know. And this guy happened to be in Kenya. And yeah, fast forward to 2009, we started Letty Arts together instead of working in competition. And the
Jeez.
interesting bit about this is basically I told a story in an incubator that I just got a job in a year after. That was 2008. And the founder also fell in love with the story, and quickly Wesley was on a plane down to Ghana, and that was the first time I saw him face to face. But we had chatted before only through Yahoo Messenger, attempting to make a game before and together. But we met physically through Meltwater 8, and we started Letty Arts in 2009. And 10 years down the line, that dream is still blazing.
Jeez, that is so cool. You know, I love that story. We were chatting about it earlier. So the whole thing of Letty Arts actually started with a really, really angry email from your side. And like you said, you're still going all these years later. That is so cool.
Yep, cool. Yeah, that was quite interesting.
So now, Aaron, you said that your passion for comics has bled into video games. And what you guys do over there at Letty Arts is extremely interesting. You actually, if I'm not wrong, you start out with character development for your video games in comics. Am I right?
Yep, perfect. And from the background, you saw that's how everything started. Comics became the passion for video games. So that dream cuts across throughout. And I think one of the proposals I even made to my partner when I wrote in that email, I think I have a copy of that whole thread in the book, and it's online as well. So I may share those references here. And I remember proposing to him that, hey, I can make a comic of your character, of the game that you've made so far, which was Adventures of Yangi. So comic has always been in the picture, and it helps with character development and the story world before you actually make a game out of it.
Jeez. So now, when you're busy doing the comic books for the video games or the video games for the comics, how do you find that they complement each other?
I think picking from what Marvel DC does, you could realize that when they make a comic book and it ends, the story continues in a game, and at a point then there's a movie, then it ends, then it continues in a story in a comic again. So for us, that's what we really want to do. We want to involve all the necessary skill sets on the continent. And you realize that gaming is quite nascent from here. And gaming moves hand in hand with certain industries. So there's a comic industry, there's the arts, music, movie industries. Some are more advanced than the other, but games and comics move hand in hand. They are all emerging industries. But there are talents that cut across comics and have nothing to do about games. But we believe that once we introduce games in a form of comics to those who already do comics, understanding it is easier to join your team. So that's mainly why we are joining the two aspects together right from the onset. One, to spread quicker on the continent, and two, is a better way to tell stories and preserve stories faster, form of story development, and then the technical side, which is the games that come with it as well.
So now the fans must be eating this up, right? Because they can play as one character over the weekend and then pick up the next issue of the comic during the week and stuff like that. Have you got any big fan mail? Have you got any positive reception that, you know, when you look back on it, you think, yeah, this is why I started Letty Arts?
Yes, yes, and we've done that. We've had a lot of comments on when we released our first comic Anansi, the true Anansi. We did a comic and the game, and look, it was received really, really, really well. We had a lady writing to us that she's been reading the comic with the son as a bedtime story, and when we released the game, they were playing it. And, you know, one of the interesting things about this is how nascent the gaming industry is in Africa. So if we get comments like this, we are really, really, really happy that we are making a difference, at least for the first time. It's not a traditional movie, or it's someone on the continent is interacting with a tech product and a fun story, which is being accepted by a certain market that frowns on entertainment. You know, in Africa, you have games and education. Once you play games, you are not serious one, but when you are studying, you are serious. So we are trying to marry the two and make it relevant that, hey, learning is best done through games and arts and entertainment.
And I think one thing that Lazy Arts really prides themselves on is showing true African spirit without any gimmicks or without any, anything that takes away from the Africanness, if I can call it that, of African people. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yep. I think even right from the website, you see our words and our values cut across that clearly, that we are making meaningful games using our African authentic stories. So the meaningful games, authentic African stories, that those two bits are very preserved when you even go to our stories. And when you see our artworks, you can actually feel the authenticity. So as much as probably the games, because we are all self-taught and it's a nascent industry, there are no official training organizations. The games might be lacking a bit in terms of quality and finesse, but we are doing our best to keep pushing that as the industry grows and we iterate. But the comics and the artwork, we don't compromise on that. We make sure that when you see a character, you directly resonate with it, and the quality is as good, not even better than the ones that we are used to globally. So that one we are really, really, really passionate about telling the stories right and depicting it right.
Sure. That is incredible. I think that's something to really be proud of. But speaking of other things to be proud of, you have something coming out called Africa's Legends Reawakening. Am I right?
Yep. Perfect. Yep, you're right.
So you have done something, hence why I called you the legend in innovation on Africa. So if I'm not wrong, I can play this game on my computer, and then I can play it on my PlayStation, and then I can play it on my phone, and it's this massive cross-platform immersive experience. Tell us a bit more about that.
Perfect. And you missed out the biggest platform, which is text.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so that is the innovation. We want to make a AAA game playable even at text level, so that no one is left out. And the whole idea about Africa's Legends Reawakening is to create legends out of everyone on the continent who saved the day in this huge, massive multiplayer world, and the world lives on. So for instance, the game is designed in a very complex and simple way that if you are playing, you can play with any character. But when you are playing from Kenya, the characters that you choose are Kenyan characters who have their own story arcs. Ghana, you are presented with Ghanaian characters who have their own story arcs, but they still experience the same story world and find each other. Then the innovative way of this game is how we plug in side missions. So take it as a newspaper, but a game. So headlines happen in real time. If there is a gas explosion in South Africa, we just create a headline and say that there's a gas explosion. Then we give you a villain, because the villains are the problems on the continent. So we give you a villain who is responsible for that explosion. Then we give you the statistics of those villains, if it's level 1 villain or level 2 villain, and we give you stats, maybe from Somalia, a weapon, this and that and that. So you can look at the profile of this villain, and then you invite other legends if your level is not up to that villain. So you can invite your friends and add up your level and then challenge this villain together. And the challenge could simply be a mechanic. We have about 6 basic mechanics that have also been optimized for text. One, you can play a tic-tac-toe with this legend by text as well. You can play a fight, punch, defend, turn-based activity. You can do a trivia with the person to guess a lock game, or you can lock pick or do a minesweeper. So we've built these mechanics in there. And this mechanic will be played at text level. When you are accessing the platform with, let's say, a smartphone that can access 3D artworks, you can actually replay the the interaction that you had at text level in 3D using a much more powerful device when you are accessing the game.
That's so cool.
When you look at the whole design architecture, it's in blocks. And for now, we've built the text system, and we are now trying to look for funding and partners to build the other layer on top of it. So depending on the device that is accessing it, if it's PlayStation, it starts collecting PlayStation assets to build its client. But for now, you can play through text, SMS, play through Facebook as well. It's not yet launched. It's at prototype level, but you can we can deploy a test environment for you to experience how the interactions work. But it's amazing. It's really, really cool.
It's so exciting too, and it's African. It is such a level of innovation coming from the continent of Africa. That is so cool.
Yeah, yep. Thanks for that. And I really believe in this design first, and also the story would really go far to carry the really great authentic stories of the continent.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see where this goes. Aaron, we are running out of time. I just want to ask you quickly, in terms of Afro Comics, can you just tell me a bit more about that and how you use Afro Comics to distribute your video games?
Yes, so basically, Afro Comics was born out of us distributing our content. So when we did our first comics and games, we realized that the channels of publication were too many. Comixology, Amazon, Google Play Store, like everywhere. So we built Afro Comics to distribute our comics and video games, and it was first in 2013. Fast forward to 2015, we realized that a lot more people have charted this path, and they had a lot of content. It was so difficult to identify an African content or game if you are searching on the continent. So we open it up to start curating works of all our allies on the continent. And now we have over 500 quality African content in terms of comics, wallpapers, and short graphic novels. And we'll be opening up the games soon. But we have from game companies, we have from single artists, we have from comic studios, all publishing, us inclusive as well. So Afro Comics is going to become the one-stop shop store for every African content on the continent. And we've been closing deals of distribution partnership with telcos and other publishers on the continent, and actively sourcing for content. I think it also won the World Summit Awards last year, and it's doing quite well. And that is how it's distributed. It's on Android for now, but yeah, it can cut across all platforms that will be released soon. So that is Afro Comics for us. Is the window to Leti Arts content and other authentic superhero African content on the continent.
Jeez, that's so cool. Like you said, if you want some good African content, Afro Comics is the place to be, right?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Aram. I really, really appreciate it. Before I let you go, though, with Business of Gaming Forum moving online, I just want to know what you're looking most forward to for the Business of Gaming Forum.
So I am really, really looking forward to discussions around publishing, because we are all bent into programming, and programming is not game development. Now the business and the arts is much more necessary, and it's time for us to talk more in that light to every game developer and everyone entering into the game development space on the continent. So I'm really looking for the business. That's what I'm really looking for to discuss, and also to talk about literature, like writing about success, like the least success stories. I call them unfolding stories in the gaming sector on the continent. And I started with my book, Uncompromising Passion, the Humble Beginnings of an African Video Game Industry. So anyone can write, just use your story as the beginning somewhere. Africa is huge, and we need to tell the story of how that is working. And we'll see how that will also bring academia on board. So that is what I'm really expecting us to discuss in
Yeah, well, it's going to be an awesome show. I can guarantee you that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Aram. I feel like I've really got a lot from talking to you. As I said in the beginning, you really are a leader in African innovation when it comes to both comics and video games, and you have a lot to be proud of. And I think that you're making the whole continent proud, Aram. This is so exciting, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too, Calvin.
Thanks, Aram. Hey, welcome back to the Comic-Con Africa YouTube channel. Today we are speaking to somebody all the way from Uganda. His name is Ronald. Hello, Ronald. How are you?
Hi, I'm very fine. Thanks for having me.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much for being here. How's life up there in Uganda? Everything all good?
Everything is good. Things are kind of getting back to normal. I guess businesses are opening. And well, for us creatives, I don't think it really stopped on the computer all day. But things are great. Yeah,
no, that's good to hear. So you are the the creative director rather of Clan of the Kings, which is a development company based in lovely Uganda. Tell us a little bit more about your job title and what it means to be a business in the business of video games in Africa.
Okay. So my job title, basically, I am the creator of Sunjata as a story. It started off as a comic book. And now that we are integrating our comic book stories into gaming, my job really is to make sure that the depiction of what we created in the story comes out as well as it did there into the game. And really the whole purpose of this was to break open that pathway for African gaming, and also the telling of mythological stories that are African born, and to have that in game, because I think as interactive media, there's no better way to get people involved.
That's so exciting. So now tell us a little bit more about Sunjata. It's in the video behind you. It looks absolutely incredible. How was it working on that?
Working on that has been great. Sunjata is a story about a wanderer slash herbalist called Ka Menelik, who really is on a path of self-discovery and trying to fit in a society that does not want him. This is something people find out in the game, but it is a hack and slash adventure African mythology. And working on it has been great. It's helped me learn more as well about African mythology stories, African mythological stories that maybe I had not found out about. And just to bring those into a fun, interactive media has been quite the journey. It has not been easy, but it's been worth it.
I think that you bring up such an interesting point there. Often you see video games exploring Norse mythology and Chinese mythology, and there's a big, massive area to be explored under the African mythology. So that's extremely exciting for you guys to dig into.
When we started doing this, at first it really came from a place of we just wanted to make a game. And we wanted to prove to the international industry that Africa can make this type of game. We see a lot of mobile phone games come out, and that is, really respect to those people who have held it down this far in making African mobile phone games, trying to break through into the industry. But we saw an opportunity to also break through into the console and high-end PC gaming. And we thought, that's something that deserves to be done. That's something that we wanted to do. And then, along the way, it also became this fun thing. And we're like, oh, let's also just make it look really cool. Let's make it look as cool as possible. That when people look at this game, it's not about, oh, that, it's an African game. Oh, that's a really cool game.
Yeah.
And that has been one of the driving forces for us.
You bring up a really, really interesting point about having, all these different platforms. You have PC and you have mobile and you have PlayStation and you have Xbox and you have consoles and all of the lot gathered together. How does, with me not being involved in game development, how does developing for a console differ from developing for a computer? Is it a matter of when you press export, you say export to PlayStation? I'm sure it's a little bit more complicated than that. What is the development process and how does it differ from others?
Well, the development process really is in detail.
Yeah.
When you make a game for mobile, it's required to be light. It's required to be light so that it can be faster. There are a couple of, I guess, mechanics that might be overly complicated for a mobile phone game that you wouldn't really put in there. And it's really to the point. Mobile phone games are like to the point. It's meant to grab you, right from the moment you open the app. But I feel like with PC games and console games, there's a growth to the character. You kind of have to develop with the character, and that involves a different kind of storytelling. That involves visuals that have to impress. I believe in quality. So as where mobile phone, you could get away with not going as that distance with like let's say details on a bit of armor. You could get away with that with mobile phone games. But when, because we went with photorealistic. Now, when you choose to do that, when you talk photorealistic and you're talking guys who have like custom gaming PCs with like a lot of RAM, and they're expecting to be impressed. So there's that pressure, I believe, where you are trying to also accommodate to that type of quality. Not to mention that with a game like what we're doing, when you look at games like God of War, Last of Us, the first game, you're looking at games which really was stunning all round.
Yeah.
You're looking at games that the story complemented the graphics complemented the environment complemented the mechanics, and that is the same thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to really give people this experience that feels like you are watching a movie. And I feel like that's the difference. You can get through a mobile phone game without worrying about some of these elements, but when you're talking PC console, they are really important.
Sure. That's really interesting. I mean, I'm busy watching the video behind you. It looks incredible. How long has it taken you to get to the point where you are now?
Actually, this video is a bit old.
Wow.
But it took us to get to that point. It took us 1.5 years, almost 2 years actually. We're just almost at our second year. And a lot of things have changed. For example, I think you can notice from the video, it was a bit darker. We now kind of brightened it up a bit to kind of give more of a sunset Africa feel, the savannah. When we're looking at our old videos, we're like, oh, as cool as it is, I don't think people really feel that African vibe. And we will be releasing new videos soon. But it took us like around 2 years to get to that point. And now we're in our third year. And yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Jeez, it is so cool. Look, Ronald, you got my buy. Like, I will 100% get it on launch day. I'm super excited for this game. For the people that want to follow you, for the people that want to see the trailers as they come out, maybe drop you a message, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, really simple. We have a website, www.sunjata.africa. We have a Facebook page, Sunjata Told. That's SUNJATATOLD. And the same for Instagram. And those are our main at the moment channels where we are putting a lot of our content. yeah, so anyone interested can always go there. You see videos, you see images. We got some great character artwork. I'll be releasing new character artwork soon. Right now, we're really working on the enemies because we really want people to have a good time hacking away at
Oh yeah.
some cool looking enemies. Yeah, so that's where we are right now, and that's how you can find us.
Awesome, Ronald. And can I be cheeky and ask for a release period, a release window? Have you got any idea for that?
We have our first estimated timeline, which should be Q1 next year.
That's so cool.
This is only because of a few delays that did hit us this year, because it was meant to originally we had planned to release it this year, by the end of this year, but things had to be pushed to Q1 next year. So.
Well, Ronald, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for answering the questions. At least now I know that when it comes to making a game for console, it's not just right-click, save as, export to PS4. At least I know that. Thank you so much for coming on. You're most welcome. Thank you so much. As always, if you want to learn more about Ronald and the fantastic game Sunjata, you can go check out the Comic-Con page. There'll be information in the description below. Thank you so much for coming by. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, thank you so much to Ronald.